We live in a pretty beautiful country, and a lot of people would say that we're quite lucky to be here. But we're not the happiest bunch. We've got the second highest bullying rate in the whole world. And did you know that we've got the highest youth suicide rate in the whole world? But we're still too embarrassed to talk about mental health. And young lives just aren't being taken seriously enough. So, any questions? Anything?
Where does mental illness start? Psychologists say it begins in childhood. And I can tell you where it ends.
So this is my old house where I lived here with my dad. I haven't been here since the night that he died, so it's pretty weird being here. Yeah, so basically what happened that night, I was staying at a mate's house and I was going to come home that evening, and he usually left the keys out the front in the mailbox, and the keys weren't there. And then I went to the door and I saw the lights were all on. I knocked on the door, no one answered, and then it's like that was my brother's room there. So I broke through it and got inside the house, and that's when I found them in the living room. Yeah, I feel nothing but everything. I feel just empty. But I know that once I leave here, everything's just gonna kick in. So there's nothing now, but everything's like it's just waiting for me to process it. The night before I found them, we'd had a big argument. I said to him, look, I'm going to leave, and I went to my mate's house, and right before I left, he broke down in tears and said, why does everybody leave me? And then I just left, and that's the last conversation we had. You never imagine that someone that you live with, like your hero, is capable of doing that.
My family migrated from Chile to New Zealand when I was 6. My father always gave the impression of being strong and in control. Looking back, there were signs of depression, but we didn't see it. And he probably didn't either. His life didn't have to end this way. If someone had said the right thing at the right time to him as a boy, I wonder if his life would have been different.
Having a negative experience at your age now, do you think that will have a lasting effect on your lives? Or
if it's something really big, yeah, if it's something really big, or and if you have a really good memory.
Yeah, if you've got a really good memory, yeah.
To help me understand the perspective of young people today, I've found a focus group. These kids are from happy homes, and mentally, they're in good health, but they still know about our shocking stats.
So, were you aware that New Zealand has the highest youth suicide rate in the world?
No. Yes, I am. I am aware. I'm aware that we come first place to Canada. We've double the suicide rate they have, and they're such a big country.
Yeah.
And we're just small. We should be able to deal with this better.
Yeah.
Psychologists say an adult's mental health is shaped by what happens in their childhood. By law, we can't film anyone under 18 who is vulnerable. So instead, I'm going to meet a man who wants to talk about how his traumatic childhood left him with psychological scars.
Hey.
Daryl?
Hey, mate, how are you? Good. Come on.
He has to confront painful memories from his past every day.
So Cori, to give you an idea of the triggers I have to deal with, is if I pretty much stand here in the centre space here, I can say I've lived in a foster home 3 minutes that way, 3 minutes that way, and about 10 minutes that way. I've lived in a home, and about 18 minutes that way, and about 14 minutes that way.
Yep.
Daryl lived in 80 foster homes, and many were abusive. He has post-traumatic stress.
And probably combined around, add another 12 minutes between each of those spaces.
Right.
That's just from standing here.
Those are all triggers if you drive past them?
All triggers,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's how do you manage that?
Do you avoid them, or do you?
I used to avoid it, but I think now it is what it is, and you can't change it, eh?
Yeah.
So how do I work with it rather than against it?
This episode, what we're doing is trying to figure out how, when you're growing up as a child, stuff that happens to you, how that affects you in later life. And like you live in like what, almost around 80 foster homes.
Sure.
By the time you were 18.
Yeah.
And you know, how did that like sort out your identity as an adult?
Sure. And the only way I can answer that would be the impacts to any child or any person going through such thing will definitely be the loss of identity. You just imagine moving so many times, you're thinking, who am I? The next one is belongingness. You're trying to find stability. You're trying to find friends. You're trying to remain in something to call something that you belong into. And the last impact that really hits hard the most is trust. I'm walking into a place, Cori, and they're saying, you're gonna love here, you're gonna love being here, you'll stay here. You know, 3 months later, you're walking home from school, asking to pack your bags, time to go. So you hear a lot of broken promises.
Daryl suffered physical and psychological abuse. He missed out on a happy and healthy childhood. Love, belonging, even toys. And now he's definitely trying to make up for it.
He doesn't do anything.
This is just half of his collection of McDonald's Happy Meal toys.
Oh, that's it, mate. That does it. That's me with the flashback. There we go. Playing with those toys sort of triggered me a little bit, to the point like, whoa, it takes you back to that time, eh?
Daryl takes anti-anxiety medication to manage.
That's how easy it can come and go. But that's just a tiny trigger. There's nothing compared to a flashback, yeah.
47% of all Kiwis experience mental illness at some point. That's nearly every second person. And like my dad, I have depression. I'm a comedian, so for years I've tried to deal with it through humour. I don't really like talking about my feelings that much. And nor do other Kiwi blokes. I guess it's not considered manly. That's something that a sensitive boy quickly discovers. Like, even though we've got the second highest bullying rate in the world, just the fact that we're talking about this now, like when I grew up, we also had bullies, but we never had conversations like that. Do you think that it's good to talk about things like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And will it make you more open to, if something in the future comes up, to talking to your friends about it?
Yeah.
To an adult, yeah?
I think money's a big part of bullying as well, since people would obviously make fun of you if your parents are poor or if you're wearing bad stuff. And that's just how children are these days.
Yeah.
And if you do something like by accident, and you might get a bad reputation,
Yeah.
and you might get bullied for that.
And then that sticks with you for the whole time, doesn't it? Yeah.
That might be something that will stay with you long term.
Yeah.
This is where I went to school. Like that park there, that's where my dad would wait for me every day after school. We'd park right there.
I was lucky to have loving and supportive parents.
I don't know if you can see through there, like that double-storey house there. That was my old house up the top flat.
The tough bit was moving to a country where I spoke no English.
Seems like when I was little, it seemed like a massive road, but now it's so small. I guess because I'm massive now, so. I don't think I never really experienced real bullying, but definitely kids would hassle or they'd make fun of my parents because they spoke a different language, or because they were cleaners. Like that was their job. They cleaned toilets, and that's what we used to get hassled about.
When I was teased for speaking Spanish, I felt embarrassed. But new research shows it's not just victims who suffer the lasting consequences. Bullies also have an increased chance of developing a psychiatric disorder by the age of 30. Our Children's Commissioner is alarmed.
There's about 25% of New Zealand kids reported serious incidents of bullying. Enough for them to want to talk about it and report it. So we've got to take that issue seriously. Imagine a child's life is like a chair with 4 legs, and I think 4 areas have to be functioning and strong to give stability to the life. Home, school, friends, community. That is a stable and a loving home, which provides boundaries, provides discipline, provides nurture.
It was the field where I grew up playing soccer. Come here pretty much every weekend. I started playing soccer when I was all my life, I think. I went to an all-boys, like Catholic high school, and not just for football. Like rugby was massive there. Like you could be the smartest guy, you could be good at arts, you could be a good musician or whatever, but that's always going to come second to, like, unfortunately, to being rugby players in New Zealand. If you don't play rugby, they'd call you a homo or whatever. Being a teenager is hard enough as it is, let alone when you're in a male-dominated high school where the rugby players are the heroes of the school.
Perhaps it's our masculine culture which contributes to the high rate of male suicide. It's easy to assume. So I'm off to a psychologist for answers.
So we've got a massive suicide rate in New Zealand. Is that linked to gender? Is that linked to going back into the whole harden up attitude? Like, so many people probably don't want to talk about it because that's how they've grown up, like been told, "Oh, just harden up, mate." So whenever they have a problem, they won't say anything until it's too late.
It's kind of like asking what starts a fire. You go, there's so many different things. What we do know are the conditions around depression. What conditions make people particularly predisposed to be depressed? What conditions make people particularly predisposed to suicide? And part of those conditions are masculinity.
Where does this masculine pressure come from, you reckon?
Part of masculinity is about being self-reliant and independent and sorting out problems yourself. And if you can't sort out problems yourself, then there's something wrong with you. And that's a particularly damaging aspect of masculinity for people, because people who think that they have to fix their own problems for themselves, for a problem like depression, where it involves social isolation, going somewhere by yourself and feeling bad about yourself and criticizing yourself, one of the most important tools to get out of that is social support.
The old harden up, take it on the chin attitude, I mean, that is not a recipe for addressing the sort of issues that can lead to depression and even suicide. The recipe is to talk about it, to get assistance, to get help. I mean, problem shared is often a problem halved.
Sadly, being social is the last thing that anyone in the throes of depression feels like doing.
Yeah, just out of nowhere, while I was at uni, the first time I started feeling down, what made it better was just going for a walk up and down the street. Like, I just love people watching. I just hate going home, so I just go for a walk. I'd spend hours just walking in circles around Kiwi Street. It was my first year at uni, and I went to see a counsellor and stuff. Then I got diagnosed with depression for the first time. Like growing up, all I did was play sports and just trying to make my parents proud and stuff. So I never knew what depression was. And then all of a sudden I was fleeting by myself at uni, doing a part-time job, and I was a grown-up for the first time. And then it just hit me though, like people can get sad, and I was.
Back then, no one really talked about depression. I guess it was seen as shameful. But I'm getting better at sharing.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
I can have a laugh with my friend Willie and open up to him. He has a background working with troubled youth.
Me, myself, I'm just trying to put out that message of just be comfortable in your own skin. As my uncle alludes to, tūranga waiwai, stand tall. Yeah. Don't care what anyone else thinks. 7.5 billion people in the world and only one of you, so just be yourself. These days, it's good to talk. Don't be afraid to speak up and engage and talk to those people, your best friends, family, mum, dad.
That's it, man.
Just engage, 100%. Yeah. That's a huge deal, is to speak up, because when you bottle everything up and then one thing can tip you over the edge, and
Yeah, bro.
it happens all the time, and I've seen it firsthand. So, yeah.
We say that like using humour is a good way to get through to people and to get them to open up. But in New Zealand, humour is also a good way to get out of that. A lot of Kiwis just go,
100%.
just brush it off. Oh, she'll be like literally, she'll be right.
Yeah, and have a laugh about it. But it's the thing, but have a laugh about it, and then when everyone leaves, you sort of
Just have a cry.
have a cry. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Willie.
Hey, thanks for everything, eh?
Men swallow emotions.
Have a good day, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, I use humour to mask mine.
People expect you to cry less, and
That's
when boys cry, it's a different result to when girls cry.
Yeah. People might say it as a sign
Yeah,
of weakness,
right.
but it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they might bully you because you start crying, and
Yeah.
then carries on.
And it carries on to social.
Yeah.
But crying is just an emotion.
Accepting his culture has helped Daryl heal.
Oh, you're awesome, Danny. Awesome. Yeah, mwah. Look at this.
Where do you feel more at home in your Chinese background or your Māori background?
At first, I think I felt more comfortable within the Chinese realm.
Don't want to lose my finger.
That's because growing up, you're told, your Māori are useless, they're lazy, they do drugs, they do alcohol, they go to jail. White people don't look after these things, it does my head in. As someone younger growing up, I didn't want to relate to their culture.
Right.
And then as I started my journey, I thought it's really important to find out who I really am and where I come from. I educate children around the world now, and often I say to children, imagine a backpack on, you got a backpack? With what's happened to you, what do you own? What do you own inside of that backpack? So let's look at me for an example. When they pinned me down and put a spider in my mouth and made me chew, I was angry. I was frustrated. I felt helpless. But do I own that? No. Because I never asked for that to happen to me. Yeah. So growing up now, I can say, well, you don't own that, Daryl. It's not yours to own. And then as you go sequence through life, you'll find that my backpack's actually quite light. And I'm able to manoeuvre.
So if you guys were having a hard time, what would you do about it?
Go see a therapist or like a counsellor.
Yeah.
Talk to your parents.
Talk
as
to
much as
friends,
you
like
can.
talk to people
Yeah.
who think they might be able to help.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
people that you know quite well.
Yeah. And do you guys
And
have
you can
people that you
trust.
trust that you can just go to if something's wrong?
Yeah, like a friend. You don't necessarily tell your teachers, because some of this might be like things you don't need your teacher knowing.
Yeah.
Like, so you can just tell your parents, because, yeah, they know you a lot better,
Yeah.
and then they can help out.
If you heard that one of your friends was seeing a therapist, would you think that was wrong, or was that a good thing?
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
If they need it, they need it. It's good.
Yeah, of course. When I heard about what Daryl went through, I wasn't expecting to meet someone as cheerful. At the same time, he lives with some pretty serious health conditions. All of them a direct consequence of a traumatic upbringing. I want to know if acceptance is the key.
I was given medication to start off with.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, I'm not taking this. This is crazy. I'm thinking people might label me as crazy.
Yeah.
And I sat in a waiting room one day, and a guy was talking about how he's diabetic. And I said, oh, what do you take for your diabetes? And he said, I take insulin. And he goes, oh, are you diabetic? And I said, no. And he goes, you're lucky, your body's created its own insulin. And then it dawned on me, click. Daryl, it's okay to take pills for your health because you simply don't have that chemical anymore.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to accept it's okay.
You don't have no problem taking medication or telling people that they should, or do you think it's up to their own person? You think some people can get by without it, or?
Well, personally, I think, I'm strong, very strong. And I thought I could do without it.
Yeah.
And I learned, no, Daryl, that's not the case.
Yeah.
You've got to take that in order to have that stability, eh?
Yeah.
Then if it's going to help me, then why not? If it's going to make me make sense of the world, why not?
Yeah.
If it's going to give me a better quality of life, then why not?
Yeah.
We're all going to need help at some stages. We're all going to need the input of others and of experts sometimes, and there's no shame in that. It's been the case for me, it's been the case for most of my friends. At tough times in life, we need genuine help, support, and expert input. We've got to make that acceptable and normative.
So I guess the main reason I want to do this series is my dad committed suicide 4 years ago now, and I'm just coming into it, I don't know what I was going to get out of it. I see there's a bit of therapy for myself as well, even talking to you today and talking to the kids as well. Like it's been so helpful. Like I've realised it's just talking. It's just talking to people. Like that's the most important thing that we've got to do.
Condolences and respect to what you're saying. Absolutely with you there. Coming out and talking about it is not a job. It's a responsibility, eh? I think in foster care, especially, a lot of suicides do happen. In my lifetime, I would have seen at least 15 to 20, to be honest. I got to that stage in life, 15, 16 years old easy, where I just said, look, there's nothing more that I can do, and what's life beyond this life is just absolutely pointless.
I don't think most New Zealanders know, in reality, the profound levels of disadvantage and neglect, the hard edge of youth suicide, of bullying. It's an area that we've got to confront and talk about, and that's got to be the start of some social change.
As a social worker in New Zealand's foster care system, Daryl confronts his past daily. His childhood experiences help guide him when working with families.
I just love what I do here. I mean, to allow whānau to be with whānau is so awesome, and to get children out of the state care system is just absolutely amazing. And to be part of that, I'm just truly blessed to be here. I could have a case where abuse has happened to a child, and from my experience, I can understand from that child's view. A lot of it too is broken generations. You know, look at myself, third generation broken, not knowing who you are.
I saw a great T-shirt at a conference that said, "Every generation better." And here was a woman holding her youngest child, and she said, "Actually, my husband and I didn't do that crash-hot job for the first 3. We've got some help. We've got some input. We're going to be better parents. Violence is ending."
We need three or good 4 generations of absolute solidness to bring that back into one space again. And it's the kids who suffer in the end.
Parents, they're mean to their children, and then the children get like really angry about that, and they have no one to talk to about that.
Yeah, so it's just like a chain that.
Yeah, it's a chain.
Yeah.
The therapist I've been seeing for 2 years, non-stop, twice a week. So that allows me to express how I feel and make sense of how I feel. Yes, I need the pills. Yes, I need the therapist, but I also need my daughters. I need the hugs. I need the kisses. I need the love. How are you? Auntie said to say hello.
Money can't buy active, enthusiastic parental involvement in those first 1,000 days. And that's a good challenge for all parents, for all fathers. I mean, been challenged many times by the quote that nobody wanted and wished to write on their gravestone, "I wished I'd spent more time in the office."
Yeah.
But it's something that seduces and sucks in all working parents.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
We're trying to find something circle.
Something circle.
We're trying to find something circle. Can you help us?
Something...
Is that circle?
Play!
Is that
Plate?
a circle? Plate. But we want something to fit into here, look.
What's this?
Tomato!
Oh my God.
Seeing Daryl with his kids, it's clear that the cycle is broken. What kind of things have you taken from that, and how are you going to put them to raise your kids?
I think for me it's, for them it's not overdoing it too much.
Some psychologists say we're the most underfathered generation in history. Without good male role models around, how can we expect to have happy, healthy children? And that's my focus now, to be the best father I can be. I still experience depression, but I'm learning to recognise the symptoms and talk about them with the people I love. But creating a more accepting society is everyone's responsibility. What difference do you think you guys can make?
We can, cause now that we know about this at a young age, we can make other, grown-ups and stuff aware of it.
Yep.
If we see it's happening, we can try and put a stop to it.
And do you guys do that now? If you see someone being mean to someone else, do you bring it up?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I try to, if someone else is getting bullied, I try to help them.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
someone's hurt, you
Yeah.
try to just take care of them for a while.
And another thing we can do to help is when we grow up and have kids, we can tell them all this stuff that we know now
Yeah.
so they don't result in becoming bullies or...
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys are a lot more aware of it than when I was young. I started out wanting to understand our high youth suicide rate. But I'm realising we need to reinvent how we see ourselves as men. It's good to talk. It's good to share feelings. And there's nothing wrong with getting help. If this group of boys is anything to go by, I've got hope.
Attitude was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.